Hey, grade 10. So I tried the chapter 5, 6 summaries in my first video and I went over the 15-minute mark by 44 seconds. So this is round 2. So I'm just going to keep this one short. The last video I was expanding a little more on the games that are being played. So Graf plays the game of Ender. So he manipulates Ender's environment and plays his own rules and sets things up to alienate, isolate Ender, just to see what Ender will do. And then once Ender adjusts to that new environment, then Graf does something else. So and he incorporates another tactic or whatever the case, or ploy, which forces Ender to do something else. So it becomes so. Graf doesn't have a clue how Ender's going to respond to it. He has an idea, but the more he manipulates the game, then the hope is the better leader Ender will be, and also it'll be Ender will become the person that Graf believes Ender will become, and that'll be the best military commander in history. So if you go back earlier in the novel, break him completely and then rebuild him. And that's what he's doing with Ender with his game playing. Ender plays his games. So of all the situations that he's confronted with, he reacts very strongly, and in a couple cases violent, in a violent manner. And the international fleet is getting tired of those outcomes or those reactions. And so Graf is on, basically Graf is being told to get something done. We need something that is to show that this project is worth the amount of time and investment and money maybe that they're putting into this one child. And so Graf, he has to get things going here, and hopefully Ender will comply and follow suit. And then, of course, the other kids, how they react to Ender is part of that game too. And every time Ender tries to fit in, the kids start to put walls up and stuff like that, and that forces Ender to react, go down a different path, and so on and so forth. And then pretty soon, Ender realizes that he can manipulate those people so that they can serve him, and pretty soon he has almost the full attention and support of his fellow peers, or his fellow launchies. Maybe not Bernard right off the bat, but because he did break the arm. So, but eventually Bernard will come around. So we also have the games, the video games, the games they play in battle school for training, and they also have the games that are available in their downtime, which is the Giant's Drink in Chapter 6. So my summaries are very short. I'm hoping your summaries will be a little more extensive. So don't rely solely just on what I'm presenting. Show that you can elaborate on things further and show your comprehension accordingly. So I'm going to just share that document once I find it. There we go. And I'm just going to go back here. There we go. So chapter 5, games. Graf's plan to isolate Ender worked. So that's, again, that's part of the game of isolation. See what Ender will do as he's being isolated. How will he respond? And then Graf will tweak it again. Despite doubts in Ender's ability to sell his own problems, and those doubts are the fact that he's been beating up people to solve his problems. I mean, Graf is hoping Ender will be able to solve his problems in a more productive and more militaristic approach, and instead of taking out his support groups, using them to become a formidable foe against the buggers. Ender is to remain isolated in order to see how he overcomes forced isolation. Ender makes the boys think that they're getting one on them when they don't want anything to do with him, so control what you control, do what you can. Ender receives his uniform and other prizes assigned to him and the other launchies. Remember, we talked about stereotyping and labeling. This fits in that category. The launchies are at the bottom of the pyramid here. DAP is introduced. I didn't talk about DAP in the discussion for chapter 5 and 6, but DAP is going to be playing a crucial role as a support group for, or person for, Ender and the other launchies. Now that Graf is is watching from a distance. Boys that don't succeed in battle school are iced, and it sounds a little dark, but they're just sent back to Earthside. Now, that may not seem like a big deal, but for those who are hoping to become military leaders and move up the ranks and that kind of stuff, it can be disheartening to be sent back to Earth, especially after being in space for as long as they have been, and have access to all those prizes and goodies and the tools and stuff like that. But there's also options for them, but it may not be the options that they had hoped. So the big question for them, for those people that are sent back to Earth, can they adapt and be happy with an alternate plan for their life and that kind of stuff? And that's you can see that in our world today, where people have multiple careers. They do one career and then they decide, oh, I want to do something different, and they go down that path. Or they wanted to get into one career, it didn't work out at first, so they're doing something else in the meantime, and to meet their needs and so on and so forth, and then they get into their career. So just kind of apply that accordingly and appropriately. Ender meets Mick, who advises him to make friends and be a leader, kiss up only if the others despise him. So some advice there. Mick is not, I repeat, not in the movie. Mick is a combination of characters in the movie. So just for those of you who have access to the movie, when you watch it after you're done, I'm hoping you're not watching it as you go, because the movie is just covers some of the it misses a lot of the novel, or takes a lot of the novel away, even though it was approved by Orson Scott Card. Bernard is the boy whose arm was broken by Ender, becomes a new target for Ender to defeat. And again, that's part of that game playing. So every time there's an obstruction, whether it's a person or a situation or scenario or whatever, Ender has to defeat that enemy, and in order to move to the next level and gain the points that he needs, the figurative points that he needs to be successful. The Giant's Drink, Chapter 6, is another game. It's a game that's used to test their psychological abilities, their abilities to overcome obstacles again, but in a video game format. Graf's approach to the Ender question is not sitting well with the international fleet. So whether can he become the military leader that Graf's been touting him as, promoting him as? And so Graf requests patience, but will he receive it? And right now the international fleet is getting antsy because they don't know whether or not they're going to have this leader in place in times before they launch their attack on the bugger world. Ender tests each opportunity to extremes, which inspires the launchies to follow him. So every time Ender tries something that the other kids probably won't because they're playing it safe, they go, well, if Ender can do it, I can do it. So then they do it, and then they feel empowered, and they start to believe in themselves a little more. And maybe taking reasonable chances so that they can develop their skills further and faster than maybe other um, groups that are in battle school right now. Ender plays the giant strength to a point where he has to win at all costs, just like his brother Peter. So this is the other game of whether or not Ender will become like Peter, or Ender will not become like Peter. Which way will he go? So he's at a crossroads here for chapter 6. Now, mind you, we haven't hit the climax yet, but we're getting close to it. Okay, so aside from that, that's where we're at for chapter 5 and 6, and hopefully chapter 7 and 8 will be later this week. So just stay tuned, check into Google Classroom for updates there, and all the videos are on the YouTube channel, Heskin ELA, as well if you do not want to log into Google Classroom, or you don't have access to it, you just watch it on the YouTube. Okay, so take care and be safe. We'll talk to you later.